Hello, folks. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joel Duggan, and we've got a special one for you today. If you are new, then this is going to be a build tour of Westhill, which is the medieval town that I've been building in Minecraft for the last 4.5 years, almost 5, actually. And I'll keep this brief because we're going to be joined by Pixlriffs, my friend Johnny. He is also the co-host of the SpongeChunks podcast with me. We've been doing that for the last 7 years, and this project has been a big part of me talking on the SpongeChunks. So it's going to be really fun to get him to actually see it for the first time, and we're going to have a conversation about what it's like to do builds like this, what it takes to do large builds. I think it's going to be a really fun conversation. We are going to try this Cove stream thing on Twitch for the first time, so I'm hoping that the chat will be combined and that we can keep track of questions and things like that together. So it should be a good time. Hopefully we'll get over any kind of audio hiccups in the first few minutes. We're going to bring Pixlriffs in on a Discord call. I'm going to adjust the volume to make sure that you all can hear him at the same level you can hear me. You can also click the link right now in the description, the stream title of the stream. You should be able to go and follow Pix and also see his perspective on stream as well. So that's where I'm going to jump in. I'm going to send him a little message and see what's up. Hey,
well,
you joined the game.
It got as far as loading terrain, so
Nice.
I'm in.
Where are you in? That's interesting.
I am next to what looks like an iron farm or some sort of. Oh no, I'm above you. I'm in a tree.
Oh, there you are.
Hello.
I thought people spawned in like right on this spot right here, but I guess Minecraft just picked something nearby.
There's a radius. I'm fairly certain there will be a radius, but oh, look at these lovely environs. Oh well, there's an iron farm up there in the distance. I recognize that.
Oh yeah, this is capturing ender pearls from the end. That's the device that you're looking at. Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't use it anymore, but that's kind of like that was way back when we needed it, and now we don't need it at all. How do I make you admin? What's the command?
I think it's /op, like op.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Yeah. Now you don't have to worry about starving to death, which is nice.
Helpful, yeah.
Yeah. I just switched myself into creative mode, but you can flop back and forth between spectator and creative whenever you want. The one thing that I'll say is that if you're in spectator, you will see the armor stands behind the magic. Like you'll see like a little ghost version of the armor stand. So if you see like an item or something, which could be helpful if you're like, how did Joel do that? Then you might be like, oh, it's an armor stand holding an item floating above a fireplace or something, right? So
yeah,
that could be fun to kind of show that off. So I guess welcome. This is, I mean, I think you've been on here once before, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, I seem to vaguely remember it, but maybe like the fact that I've logged in at spawn, I think maybe like player data has been lost in a shuffle around somewhere.
Yeah,
I seem to remember you were building a barn somewhere, and maybe I logged in to like say hi and help with that or something.
Building
but that's
a barn. Wow.
A distant memory at this point. So
yeah, that was a long time ago. Because that might be like Dartmouth Meadows.
Yeah, I expect it was, because I think the Citadel was sort of fairly young as a server, and the idea of Westhill was sort of a glimmer in your eye at the time, rather than being something you'd actively started on at that point. Yeah,
because the server is 8 years old, and the only reason I remember that is because it's a year older than the SpongeChunks, right? So I just and so I would have had a lot to do in that first 4 years before we got to Westhill, starting in 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, would you want to take the long way? We can go into Dartmouth Meadows and then go into the portal there.
Absolutely, yeah. Show me around for sure.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, obviously, we'll do a full tour of Westhill, but like while we're walking by stuff, this is also the first time that you've seen some other things that I've talked about on the SpongeChunks as well. So, just to our left and right here around the path, we've got the moss farm for the server, and then the revamped iron farm. That was a more recent project, and I'm sure you'll remember.
Yes. This is the Ilmango moss farm?
It is. It's an Ilmango scaled down to like, we only needed 4 modules and his had like 12 or something. Like it's just, the very, very moderate. It pumps everything in here along the water streams. And then the storage is actually just here to the right of the iron farm, the mossy looking build. That's where everything gets sorted and stored and put in the chests and all that kind of stuff. And it's the same with the iron farm. The iron farm is here, and then the storage is kind of like in the hill behind it.
Yeah, I think it is very funny seeing this after 4 years worth of screenshots. You know, it's
Yeah.
really interesting seeing some of this stuff happening, and we can hear the gentle sounds of an iron golem burning in lava in the background.
Yeah. 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 Every once in a while I walk by here and it's like, it's really quiet. And all of a sudden you hear the torment and you're like, oh yes, right. I remember
The
this
clang
is,
clang.
this
Yeah.
is what happens here. So I mean, we can show you, I can show you inside if you want. I don't want to spend too much time here because I know everybody's excited for
Sure.
Westhill.
Yeah.
But this is where all of the items get spat out of water streams above. They slide down the honey blocks and then get stored in the chests for moss and carpets and all that kind of stuff. And then as an overflow protection on the back wall, it's bone meal. So that's all
Right.
bone
Yeah,
meal.
yeah.
So if these chests fill up with all the moss stuff, rather than having items build up here and crash the server, things just get sorted out and sent along and turned into bone meal, which everybody needs anyway, right?
Yeah. And if people in the chat are new to the concept of the Citadel and are seeing some of this for the first time, this is only the the tip of the iceberg as far as attention to detail when it comes to Joel's builds, which you'll see a lot more of when we get to Westhill. But I love the ambience of the place, like the mossy stuff all around here. Obviously, with it being a moss farm output, it makes sense. But then I think it's so fun having the contrast of like honey blocks and moss and everything just all coming together in this one place.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to finally build that with the right kind of stuff. Like we had access to the moss blocks and the glow berries, and it really kind of suited the moss farm to have like a lush cave kind of design.
Mm-hmm.
And then the iron farm just empties out into here, which is just a storage room. And this is where we've got the use of the crafter, where we have just boxes of blocks of iron on the left, and then we've got the poppies are being made into different kind of dyes on the right. So just it's nice to have like that kind of stuff automated.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This is something I've been meaning to do with my iron farm is have all of the different possible permutations of the ingredients it produces crafted into stuff. Like obviously the iron blocks make sense, but then yeah, I want to have it automatically producing anvils and stuff for me eventually.
Yeah, I can't wait to do something like that in the new zone that I'm going to be talking about on the spawn chunks. Like I've just got all these ideas for crafting contraptions, like things that are just like fun to automate. Not that I need anvils, but like just to be able to make them would be fun, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So it's going to be dark here in a second, so I'm just going to sneak back here and sleep. Oh, I forgot that I'm in creative and I went into the portal.
Yeah, probably don't want to sleep through that. That's not the best idea.
No. It's also taking an eon to load the terrain. Let me just get back out here. All right. I like hiding things behind portals. So
yeah, I was going to say this. I'm not sure if it's the shaders, the resource pack, or anything, but this looks like a fairly opaque portal to me, and I assumed there was just blocks behind it. So it's kind of funny that you've got a secret space back there.
There's blocks behind it, but there's a too high just hole in the wall on the left and the right of the portal. So if you walk through it, you end up coming through on the other side. I've got a bed back here and a bunch of like chests and stuff just for working on this area, and so I'll just sleep here in a second, and that'll give us the daylight we need to get where we need to go. Something I really like about Westhill is arriving first thing in the morning, but hopefully we'll have the right timing. Okay, so we'll just go back out this way.
It's also really funny walking around and seeing an approach to just survival Minecraft that's slightly different from mine, because I rarely, if ever, put stuff like pressure plates by doors. Even on the inside of doors, I'm like, what if a mob walks through here? What if like a zombie pigman comes out of that portal and steps on the trapdoors? And lets a creeper in, and then the next time I come through that portal, the creeper's still there. And so I've always got these little contingencies and stuff in my head. I so rarely end up indulging in the what people in Minecraft might think of as like modern conveniences, like having automatic doors and stuff.
I actually have it in there for that reason, to close the door behind me so I don't forget. in case something comes in behind me. It's just such a nice thing to not have to turn around and close every door. So this is, we're just going to walk through here. This is Dartmouth Meadows, which is the starting spawn town for the server. So this is where myself and Alistair, Megan and Matt Cass and everybody kind of started with their own little build. So my humble beginnings are this little red barn and log cabin on the right. That's where it all started. And then I have branched out from there, but still come back here for things. Like the other day I needed ghast tears and I was like, oh yeah, I'll come back and get those because I've had those for 8 years and not done anything with them. I now have a use for them.
There's at least one house here I recognize, but that's because I think Alistair built my one chunk
Yes.
medieval house.
100%.
This right
Yeah,
here.
that's that. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's that. He didn't realize in Minecraft like what kind of like it was to give players like some space and some proximity. So he started building his base like directly under my cabin, like one block below. He just started making his own thing. And so it wasn't until years later he thought, you know what? I've learned a lot. I probably should not have built right under Joel. I'm going to move over to the house next door. And then he looked at, by that point, I think we had started the show. And so he was just like, oh, okay, I'll use one of Pixlriffs builds and put it here.
It's time to move out of my friend's basement is a very real like
adult, no kidding, right?
Adult situation.
Yeah. Folks in my chat, is Pixlriffs still quiet? Do you need me to turn him up?
We going through the portal here?
Yes, straight through the portal.
Yeah, great stuff.
Cool.
I was just looking around. I feel like I haven't seen a picture of this portal for a while because presumably it's sort of, a while since it was last built.
Cool. Everybody says it's fine. Awesome. Yeah, this was the first big build that I ever did on the server, which was this the nether portal. It's glass, so it is safe to walk around. But depending on the shader pack and if you've got the connected textures going, then it should feel very, very scary.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I think the other thing I was distracted by, so I didn't even really notice the fact that, yes, we're walking out onto a glass floor. I was distracted by how colorful this looks in the minimap because it's displaying at like the elevation that we're at right now. And so you can see all of the work you've done on the different tunnels leading to various areas and stuff. And I'm not used to working with a minimap in vanilla Minecraft at all, so it's really fun to see that like in the corner and get a quick glimpse at some of the stuff that you've done here.
It's interesting that yours defaulted to show you what it should be, because mine doesn't do that. Mine, I have to go into my map and like actually change the settings to the right Y level. It doesn't do it automatically.
It may just be because this was the height at which I entered the Nether for the first time.
Oh, maybe.
So yeah, that it's choosing the default based on where I first loaded into the dimension.
Interesting. Cool. Well, all of these are just the 4 cardinal directions, and we're going to go north, which is the white area, which is over here. And this will take us to the World Hub. And some people might not be familiar that on the Citadel, we've got a bunch of different build zones. We've got a modern city. We've got what will be a sci-fi zone. We've got this medieval fantasy zone that I'm going to take everybody to. And we use command blocks on the server to teleport people 10,000, 30,000 blocks away. And what that does is allows us to build things like skyscrapers and castles and not have them be right next to each other and not have to constantly say like, oh, is this too close to your thing? Can we like, do we need to go farther away from each other? We can just totally do that. And that's where we are now. This is the world center. So this is the center of the overworld. And then we've got different little glass, quote unquote, portals that'll take us where we need to go. And the fantasy one is over this way. And there's not actually a finished path. We have to kind of like take a quick right here and then take the bridge that Cosmic made, and that will take us to officially to the medieval fantasy zone and Westhill.
I think it's really funny having to think ahead to how expansive you want projects like this to get, and when people see the scale of Westhill, I think they will probably understand like the scale at which you're working. But yeah, like most people are happy just building slightly outside of render distance, but like when you're thinking ahead to when I've been working on this for several years, what does it look like? Like, how expansive is this medieval area going to get? I can see why even the render distance around the project, you don't want to get touched by stuff that's like outside of the build style of the area.
And I ended up increasing my render distance because Westhill is like longer east-west than it is north-south. And I didn't like trying to take screenshots where the buildings just kind of like disappeared. And so I've increased the server render distance and my personal render distance to something like 24 chunks, I think. So just press either button probably, but definitely the one on the right will get you where you need to go.
Great. I'll also, since you mentioned it, up my render distance a little bit.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I have mine on. Survey says 28 chunks is what mine is on, but
wow.
It should be fine at something larger than normal. So this is a build that I did. It's not part of Westhill, but it's definitely part of the medieval area. This is just the arrival area for anybody coming to the medieval fantasy zone. And there's roads that leave in the different directions. So if anybody else on the server wants to build something, they have a place that they can arrive. There's a bed, there's a chest, there's an ender chest, and then they can kind of go forth from here. So if you arrive and it's dark, then it's good to sleep because it's very dark when you're out in the wild around here because only the builds are lit up and everything in between is quite dark. So yeah, it's good to have this kind of stuff. And I think I recently talked about revamping this, coming back to this after a few years and making it finished as part of the checklist and the experience of arriving to Westhill.
Yeah, there's a little observation platform up here, so you can kind of see a bit more of what's around you. But yeah, the real stuff is off away down the path, I imagine.
Yes, and actually, I'll let you lead the way because there is no wrong turn. There's one road, it goes south, you just follow it. And we will eventually get to Westhill. And I've seen it all, so it'll be fun to kind of see your perspective as we get closer to.
The Road Builders Guild on Misadventures would be proud of this all being sort of one connected road. It's so easy to overlook stuff like that and skip over it when you're used to flying around with Elytra and exploring at a much more breakneck pace. I think a lot more survival players tend to rush around everywhere instead of focusing on the journey. They're focused on the destination.
Yeah, one of the things that I was doing a lot when I would go to like repair stuff or get materials is that I just tried not to fly out of Westhill. Like I would fly on other parts of the server, Nether, whatever, just to kind of get someplace faster. Because obviously things in there are not the best to look at. But here I would very often walk this path.
I think we got our first glimpse in the distance.
Oh yes, yeah, it's
like
coming
a little corner of a house or a wall or something, or a tower.
There's keep your eye out for a little offshoot path on the right. It might be worth exploring.
Here we go. Yeah. I remember this as recently as a few episodes ago. Talking about building this little overlook, and here the farms and farmland start to come into view, but the town itself is, for me at least, over there in the mist. I think maybe because I've got just the default installation of the shaders that you're using. I don't know if you've adjusted the fog to be a little bit further away or what the intended view over here is, but chances are if I adjusted some of those settings, I might see Westhill itself in the distance.
Yeah, I've got I think I've got a Bobby mod that separates my render distance from the server, so that could be it too.
Right, yeah.
I'm seeing the front gate for sure, and then a silhouette of the keep in the distance.
Yeah, if I roll back the atmospheric fog, I might get a little bit more of that. But either way, it's fun to leave some stuff to a little bit closer, so maybe we can hop on over there.
If I increase the render distance on the server, do I have to restart the server, or does that just happen?
I think so, but I think honestly, render distance on servers doesn't go beyond a certain amount anyway. Like I'm fairly certain that's capped by the code of the game. But...
Cool. Just give me a second here to thank everyone for the follows, and also give a shout out to Anonymous for the gifted sub to Jumbo Gaming, and thanks very much to Pops Live for the Prime sub. Very much appreciated.
I think it's also quite a shock for people seeing me playing with shaders for the first time in a while, because I do not roll with shaders on Survival Guide at all. I've only used them in recent server projects for like cinematic stuff that I've done with replay mode or flashbacks. So I think it's actually kind of fun seeing some of this stuff happen in glorious lighting and reflections on the water and everything. This is complimentary reimagined.
Yes,
and is a very, very fun and I think at this point very widely used shader pack.
Yeah, I think a lot of people really like it because it has that. For me, it has this weird kind of Minecraft, but also Nintendo vibe, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of bright colors, a lot of big fluffy clouds. I think the clouds being rendered this way is a really neat touch of this shader pack because it feels Minecraft, but with the edges rounded off literally, and it feels a lot more cartoony as a result.
Yeah, I think I don't tend to gravitate to shader packs that have like realistic clouds. I tend to it feels like a weird contrast between the world and the sky, and so I feel like when keeping everything in the same kind of like art direction, it looks a lot nicer.
I'm going to step back from the path here and take a look at some of the bridges as
Sure.
well, because when you're looking at like the walk over a bridge, it's so easy just to see the rails or the walls on either side and the floor of the bridge. But all of these bridges are like fully realized, well constructed. Like they look architectural. They look like they were, actually built to last here. And I think that's an overlooked aspect of a lot of Minecraft builds is you just build something that will get you from A to B. And if you really want the immersion of people being able to explore and do this stuff, you can't like skimp on the details here. You have to get this stuff done as well,
Yeah, thanks, man. And that's true of basically everything here. Everything has an inside. Everything has a basement. Everything has a reason for being. There's undersides of builds, backsides of builds. There nothing. The backs of everything are done. there's no there's no back of the base left wide open that no one can see. Even we'll call it the walls of the valley, like all of the landscaping we were talking about over the last month on the spawn chunks, like that's all on the other side of the river. Like none of that is vanilla Minecraft. It's all been tweaked a little bit by me. It's not like a complete like build from nothing. It's me kind of taking the existing landscape and trying to make it look nice. But everything has been touched, so it really feels like you're kind of sunk in and immersed in the build.
For the folks who haven't been listening to the Spawn Chunks recently, remind us what version this landscape is from, like when this area was originally settled, Minecraft version-wise.
It would have been just before, was 16 the Nether update?
Yes, 1.16 was Nether update.
So this would have been just before that.
So 1.15.2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever it was. Yeah. Certainly
so
long before
the most recent feature was bees
yeah,
and honey.
Yeah, certainly long before the overworld update with caves and cliffs, like a long time before that. And so there's a few things that had to be removed. There was a couple of fun quirks I decided to keep. But I think the benefit there was that I didn't end up with rivers that were like 20 blocks deep and like going down into ravines and crazy stuff like that. So the rivers were a little bit more shallow.
Blocks wide.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just realizing that my map is also not showing correctly. Let me just change this.
Yeah, I mainly point that out just to draw people's attention to the fact that, yes, all of the riverbanks with all of the extra grass and ferns and stuff like that, there are bushes there as well. There are firefly bushes. There's a bit of dry grass poking out here and there. Like, it's not just the fact that all of this has been added to and changed just a little bit, and some of it is going to be bone meal spam, but a lot of it is just going to be like manually placed foliage and stuff just to create the illusion of a wild hillside out there.
Yeah, the trick that I tend to use is to manually place grass and ferns, kind of like Cubert, just like every block, just get something on it, and then you run through and you hit everything with bone meal, and because everything is 2 blocks tall, it really hides the edge of the dirt block, like the grass block in Minecraft. And then something I discovered much later than I should have is that really you want some dirt. Like if you cover everything in grass, it looks really weirdly unnatural. So I've been using coarse dirt to like make very specific intentional, like this is a section of the cliff that's just dirt and no grass can grow on it. And there's no grass tops either to the side of the block. And it makes a big difference.
Definitely. So where do we want to start with all of the houses in the farmland around?
Well, the easiest thing to do, and I think the best place to show off at first, would be getting up to the potato farm, which is the one on the right here, because this is where it all started. This was the first build that I made. The Joel Duggan VOD's YouTube channel, this is the first VOD that you go and watch, is this potato farm on the right. And it started off a lot larger because I hadn't yet really decided how I was going to do for scale, and I ended up returning to this just this year and cutting about half of it off and making it feel like it fit with all the other builds around it. And this ended up being the staging area for most of Westhill until I started building the keep, because in the basement of the barn is where I was able to do like a lot of storage and stuff like that.
Just to explain to folks who might have seen some of these crops and gone, is this modded? Nope, these are just retextured vanilla crops. Like everything on the Citadel is vanilla with a little bit of texture pack and occasional, like the data packs help you with stuff like furniture, right? With like tables and chairs. Yeah,
the data packs are mostly vanilla tweaks and a lot of them are more recipe related. The visual data packs are things like the tables and chairs data pack. That comes with its own resource pack, and armor stand stuff would be the other data pack that has visual impact on the world. Those are really the only two that I can think of off the top of my head that would be worth mentioning. And then the textures, for me, the custom textures, I've got custom potato, beetroot, which are the two major crops in this farm that you're seeing, and then a custom wheat texture as well, which of course you can see everywhere across the road. And I don't know, carrots are natural. I haven't really messed with much more than that. If you see any hay bales, they also match the wheat texture, so they're more of a beige, kind of like a light golden color than the more yellow that you get with vanilla Minecraft.
I'm occasionally pausing to turn cinematic camera on and do like a little panorama kind of look around some of this, and it really occurs to me that if you took a 360-degree screenshot here, you could make a really cool custom menu panorama for the Minecraft login screen.
Yeah,
there's a lot of this that looks very complete like that, and would be a really, really fun thing to do.
That would be a cool thing to do. Yeah,
the experience. Yeah,
be a fun thing to add to like my starting soon screen on Twitch or something. I want to do like some B-roll. You and I were talking in the render distance, I think, recently about flashback. It's a very similar mod to replay mod, and I want to like just record going down the main road and just kind of like having stuff pass by and whatnot. But we'll show off the inside here just so you can kind of get an idea. Hopefully everything is going to be displayed properly for you. You should see tables and chairs in front of you, and a table.
All the furniture looks great.
Yeah. And it's such a neat data pack. It's recently been redone by Mr. 7. And what's cool about these is if I just switch over into survival, you can move them. And so it's just a matter of shift and regular left click will move them, and then you can also just spin them with the right click.
Nice. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, and you can sit on if you end up sitting on it by accident, there's a hidden pig in a saddle that you can't see, and so that's how they make you sit in the chair. I've never really bothered with that kind of stuff because I don't RP at that level, but I just find that Minecraft needed tables and chairs. Like it needed some sort of thing that wasn't a stair block and a slab. I still use slabs sometimes for like footstools, but this I felt just really was worth the data pack, and especially because Axel, the original author, was very keen on keeping the vanilla textures. So this is just plank textures. Like they're made out of either stripped wood or plank texture. They're just a different model, and it really, really makes things work well together. And when you place two tables together, they automatically just separate the legs and put them on the four corners. It's very, very simple.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And this is so clearly just a spruce plank block with a section of it cut out, and it makes perfect sense as a table model. It's just one of those little concessions, I think, also to the scale that you're building at, because so many of these houses don't have like, a enormous cartoonish kind of scale. You're working at player scale the entire time, and so you need player scale furniture. And when your stairs look the same as your seats, it kind of breaks the immersion a little bit, especially when immersion is so important to this area.
Yeah. Ulankel is asking about dirt slabs, and you're right. That's something that I should mention. That's actually a data pack. It's not that difficult to do. The dirt slabs outside are petrified oak slabs, which are part of vanilla Minecraft, but they're not in survival. They're only in creative. And so the data pack gives you a recipe to make petrified oak slabs. I use 3 dirt, and you get petrified oak slabs, but then I just retexture the petrified oak slab to be coarse dirt texture, and so you end up with coarse dirt slabs, which is great for paths.
Yeah, I am curious if at some point they are going to add a way of giving you more control over things like dirt and sand and the things that feel like they should be granular, so that you can do more stuff with those. But for now we just have snow layers and one slab that's unused by the game's vanilla state, so that you can mess around with that if you want to.
Yeah, I would really like there to be more like that. Sand especially would be really cool to be able to do in layers like we can with snow. Well, I guess before we get too far along, we can pop over to the wheat farm. I've got a bed with me, so I'll sleep if it gets too dark.
Sure. I'm in creative mode anyway, so mobs aren't going to bother me.
Yeah,
of
right.
Course, you probably don't want them wandering around so much.
Yeah, it was more about just the lighting.
And if the wandering trader shows up, keep him away from the crops, because otherwise they'll all get trampled.
He won't, because he doesn't.
Of course.
We have turned him on. There was too many murders. It felt bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I did notice a wandering trader head over in front of Alistair's house, and that sets a precedent, I think, for how they're handled on the server in general.
Yep. That and how Alistair treats villagers, we won't talk about. this is, I think, the second build that I did in the area, and it was a really good exercise in doing something different. I had done a water wheel before outside of Dartmouth Meadows, but this was something a bit more complicated. There was more, I think barrels in the game were a thing that they weren't before, so it was really fun to kind of get that going.
Pretty fun to get a view of this briefly while the sun sets and like notice the little points of light, all of the lanterns and stuff you've got guiding people up to the town.
Yeah,
I imagine there's a couple of spots where you'll see firefly bushes along the river as well. But
yes, yeah. There'll be a point out here where I'll let it go to nighttime and we can like take a look at that kind of stuff as well too. And I mean, I don't know, we don't have to go inside of every single build, but in particular I like this one because there's I actually kind of thought about what it would be, you know, if the water wheel was turning gears and grinding wheat, and like what would the basement sort of look like. So there's a lot of detail down below. There's also a door on the ground level. We can go in and take a closer look. But then everything up here is just the kind of stuff I like to do inside, is just make sure that everything has a lived in feel or some sort of use, even if it's just like putting some stuff around that looks like storage or looks like, you know, somebody would have just put stuff up here and forgot about it over the years. One of the data packs we do have is the mini blocks, which is just so handy for creating detail. And I've talked about it on the show before, but putting these little mini blocks at slight angles just makes everything feel so much more lived in compared to when everything's on a straight grid.
Yeah, the flexibility of them being player heads and being sort of like armor stands where you can position them at slight angles does really help.
Yeah. And in some cases I've put them on armor stands to get more variety out of them. Like I think I've made some custom mushrooms and stuff like that before. But a lot of the times I just use them. I really find the barrel, beehive, chest, and there's one more that I find really handy too. I think it might be the loom and oh, there's one more that I'm thinking of that looks like a little, sometimes the smithing table can look really cool. It looks like a little jeweler's anvil or something like that. Like you can kind of, at that scale, it kind of has a fun vibe to it.
I'm sure we'll encounter many more of them as we explore here.
Yes, they're around for sure. And then to get down, we actually have to go across another little bridge, which is just over here. And I don't know if this was exactly inspired by a Lego build, but I've certainly seen and built Lego builds that have this kind of like two-tiered, like entrance on the bottom, entrance on the top sort of vibe. Oh, you can see here's some tables and chairs I forgot to replace. So
there you go.
The data pack got updated when they changed how data worked in the game. And I knew it was going to happen, folks. I forgot something. I forgot that there was tables down here, so they have not been replaced. Oh, that's funny. Somebody write that down. I'll have to come back. But these are just, you know, large barn builds. Just tried to fill them in and make them look like they had some life to them, had some purpose. This was very early on too, so they tend to be not barren, but like a very simple sort of structure.
Yeah. And you got like a thatch roof with the hay bales. I do think the hay bales work a lot better for the type of stuff you're building with them, to have them retextured that way. I think it's such a bright yellow texture in vanilla that I can't see many people wanting them for thatch roofs, but thankfully there's a few alternatives now. But I imagine some of this stuff, when you're thinking about placing it, and obviously with the wheat field being super nearby, it makes thematic sense, but some of the blocks that you might have used later probably wouldn't have been in the game at that stage.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that I want to show off is just like the level of detail and immersion. Is I wanted to make sure that even at the end of these little paths on the river, everything that you're looking at, even from this point, has been tweaked. So this is all custom landscape across the river. There's some custom reeds across. Only when it goes around the bend did I just decide, okay, that's it. You can't, you know, unless you're having elytra, which is not really the idea here, you can't really see around there. So I stopped doing the custom stuff. But this is a good example of like, sometimes you just want to do like a little custom bit, like the reeds across the way with the new bush blocks. And then the rest of the time you can get away with like, you know, across the river around the bend, it's bone meal spam. Like it's fine. It works just fine. You're not close enough to it to really, for it to matter. But it does kind of give opportunities to have like little gates for bringing the water into the canal for the water wheel, things like that. It's just, I really love details like this. It's something that I found, and it's very time consuming, but it just, when you're done, and you realize that you can walk around here, and it really feels like you're walking around in a different video game. It's like you're walking around in the same sort of like landscape that you might get like in a Zelda game, or
Yeah.
an Elder Scrolls or something, where everything has been crafted instead of procedurally generated.
And I think having some patches of the rivers like that as well, where you've got a lot of grass and occasional ferns sort of on the hillside, but then there's one concentrated patch that favors a different type of plant. That feels very much like the way plants grow in real life, where they will sort of grow in little
Yeah.
clusters of their own because a plant has just dropped a ton of seeds around itself, and those have grown the following year, and they sort of spread outwards from like an epicenter. And it makes a lot more sense to like decorate stuff that way, where you'd imagine you want to have like little bits and pieces of something everywhere, but then everything looks kind of homogenous, and that feels more video gamey. So I think it's neat that there's like little focused areas of detail that can account for everything else around them.
That definitely comes from the hiking that I do, right? Like you start to notice
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I didn't really take a lot of reference photos, but like when you hike enough, you just kind of realize that's kind of how things work, right?
Yeah.
We can pop up this way and take a look at the two farms I think I'm the most proud of are the bee farm and the abandoned farm, and they're kind of on this side road back here. Actually, I quite like the little duck pond too.
Yeah. You got the, the sort of duck enclosure up here for them, and little ramp down into the water and stuff. It's cute.
Yeah, it's really fun to build, and stuff like that doesn't take too long. It's something that's really nice about building something this large in terms of the area. When you do something that's just like 10 or 12 blocks wide, you think like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. Like it's just, it's such a small project.
I'm noticing all the little details too, like the leaf litter on occasional corners of the blocks here. Like it's really subtle. There's just occasional ones and twos of them, and the wildflowers off to one side here as well. Like I think those have been a really neat addition to areas like this, where you feel like a dandelion in its sort of old school Minecraft style is really going to stick out compared to how low lying all of the stuff like wildflowers and leaf litter and maybe even pink petals are.
Yeah, I've used pink petals in a similar fashion in other places. And I also feel like moss carpet does a good job too of just like, it kind of steers the player. Like you kind of want to use the path. Like I don't want to run across this way. I just naturally feel like I should just stay on the brown part, just because it's just enough to kind of make you feel like, that's not going to be comfortable to walk across as a human,
Yeah, I feel like if you wanted to deter me from running across an area, you just need to put like a bunch of slabs at different heights, and so it feels like you're kind of driving over cobblestones when you're going across them, and that's enough to make me want to stick to a path. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the bee farm. There's lots of different flowers and areas. Tried to mix things up. There's a little bit of coral hidden in some places, depending on whether or not it worked color-wise. Also, the new cactus flowers work really well mixed in with the pink petals and stuff like that. And what I like so much about this build is that it's almost always in motion. There's usually bees flying around at some point, and there's at least 6, if not more, flying around at any given any given time. And so it's fun to be here. It feels a lot more active than the other places.
For sure. Were you tempted to make this functional at any point? Did you ever think about like putting a pressure plate on top of one of the bee nests and having a dispenser underneath with some shears and just grabbing some honeycomb by jumping on it?
No, I've never thought about that, but that's a good way to do it. There's a couple of beehives behind the potato farm that I use manually. I remove the scaffolding underneath them, and I put a campfire there, and I just shear them myself whenever I need a little bit of extra honeycomb. But no, this was all aesthetic. Like there's hardly anything in Westhill that's actually functional. Everything is just meant to look at. Every now and again, as I was like working on things, I would like harvest some of the wheat from the wheat farm to like make hay bales that I might need, and it would grow back eventually because, of course, I've always been loading the area. But everything here is just visual.
Sorry, I got flown at by a bee and had to step aside.
Just dodge and weave, dodge and weave.
There's workers here, and I don't want to get in the way, But yeah, no, I think that's really interesting because you said that the sci-fi area that you're working on next, as far as big projects go, is going to be a place that has a bit more productive farms that are hidden by the aesthetics of them, right? So it's interesting to move from an area where you focused solely on the aesthetics to moving on to an area that's like a hybrid of the functional stuff that we love from Minecraft, but then also the aesthetic stuff to conceal it a bit more effectively.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's going to be fun to get into some technical stuff too, because it's part of Minecraft I really like. And a lot of the other things I've done on the server have been server-related farms. That's kind of been what I've done. And so it's going to be nice to return to doing technical stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there anything we want to see inside?
Inside, yeah. We've got, feel free to pop inside. There's a bunch of different decor, and there's always an upstairs in a finished build like this. There's always like stuff in the kitchen. Here's a good example of me using mini blocks on an armor stand to get a couple different scales, just to kind of make things work.
Fun that you've got the honeycomb in here as well, but not like an excess of it either. It's not like the entire interior has to be like over themed with all of the bee products and stuff. It feels very very minimalist and very sort of real life almost.
Yeah, same thing with upstairs, you know, yellow bed, honeycomb in a frame on the wall, like just kind of like little
orange candles.
Little subtle hints that kind of make things work. And one of the best things that ever happened to this town was the changing in light levels, because it really felt like I could make it look more dim, more like a medieval town, but then not at all dangerous around every single curve, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because even here, like, I'll use Mini HUD on my stream. There's most of the paths are lit. Like, there's only like the back corners of lots that are, you know, that are really, really dark, and maybe like the middle of the bees' nests over here. Yeah, like there's this is a 0 that I'm standing on, but everything else up here is like a 1. So it's really easy to have it be mostly lit and feel pretty safe, and it reduces the amount of stuff we run into greatly.
Yeah, I can imagine a creeper in the center of some of the detailed plots of this would be kind of devastating, so I can see why.
Oh, look, yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had that happen once or twice, and I would like to avoid it in future. Especially when you've been working on it this long, because then you're like, God, now I got to go look for screenshots, because I don't remember what that looked like. You know, like, it's been 4 years since I've built that wall or that path. Like, how was that textured? That kind of stuff is wild. The other farm that I like along here is the abandoned farm, and this was something that was made possible when they added pale oak wood and all the related stuff. So this is like an empty, rundown building. There's holes in the roof. There's moss coming through. It's really fun with shaders, because when you go inside, the sunbeams come through the giant holes in the roof, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're even getting them through the windows here and there. But yeah, I like the fact that you've been able to show that the place is sort of run down and things are growing wild, and there's maybe even like a little bit of damp and mold and stuff with the pale moss carpets, and the fact that you've got pale oak as timber. And I always thought that the pale oak doors and trapdoors had a very sort of modern farmhouse aesthetic, but of course that derives itself from more older sort of farmhouse designs than just everything being painted white, because it's a sort of functional color. So like having a couple of hints at that doesn't deviate much from the block palette you've got here. But then of course a giant hole in the roof is a sign that this place is long abandoned.
Yeah, and you'll see the waterfall out there too behind you on the cliff.
Yes, the famous, or perhaps infamous
waterfall. Yeah, this took a long time to fix and get right, but it was it's nice to have it done. Like, it really kind of adds to, I think, the backdrop.
The joys of working with Minecraft water physics and trying to make them at least a little bit aesthetic. Like, do what I want, go where I want you to, and it's
totally
it's a headache sometimes, but definitely worth it when you get results like this.
Thanks. So I've got some broken down foundations, some pieces of material just lying around, and then of course the big barn here has got more of the same sort of stuff with holes in the roof, stuff growing inside. And something I tried to do, even without shaders, was where there is a hole in the roof, I tried to use lighter blocks on the ground, so that even if it's a server mate walking around without shaders on, it's still going to look like there's light coming through from above.
Yeah, you still got like rooted dirt down here, which could very easily be like, thinking about the pixelated shadows that they're adding with vibrant visuals. There are just like highlights in the rooted dirt that could be the light filtering down through some of these leaves if you want that sort of layer of immersion to it. I think that's a neat touch for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to put this together, because I'd never done anything like this. I've never done anything that was this run down, so it was really fun. And I did the same thing with the farm. I thought, you know what if this was a wheat farm like I had built earlier that we saw along the main road, but it has been unattended for years. And so I get to combine like the dead bush, the wheat texture, the new bush block in places. I threw in some carrots here and there just for some color and some different stuff. And so it was fun to kind of make this look like an overgrown area. And still looks like a farm. Like if I get up here for my stream, like you can sort of see how it still looks like it has the farm structure. So
yeah, I think it's neat that you've established what a farm looks like. I mean, if you're entering from the intended direction, from the direction we came in, you walk through all of the other farms that are structured and orderly and have a very specific like topography to them, and then you get to this one later and you realize, oh, this used to be a farm, because you've already been shown what a farm looks like
yeah,
with the approach that you've taken to building them. And so it's a lot easier for you to understand that this is an abandoned one once you've seen evidence of the ones that have, been maintained for however long.
yeah, it's been fun to work in these kind of details and kind of make the world feel very consistent, I guess is the best thing to say. And as someone that likes bridges, you can also get a good look at the bridge that goes west. Before we're on it, you can actually take a look and see like the structure of that leading up to the west gate.
Seeing a good portion of Westhill now, even if it
Yes.
was less visible to me in the fog in the distance. Now
Yeah.
we're approaching the city walls. We see a lot better the amount of stuff that is behind those walls.
So I guess the penultimate approach to Westhill would be to go back to the main road and take the paved road back up. We can always circle back and look at the flower farms or deviate off the road in any place you see fit. Don't let me guide if there's something that you're just like, ooh, I want to go this way. Just let's go that way.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, you know the layout of this better than I do.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what strikes you as something that's
Yeah.
worth drawing attention to.
So
I've also seen a few people in the chat saying like, have I missed the town tour? Are we talking about the stuff on the outside? No, we are approaching the town.
We're approaching the
haven't
town.
got to the
We haven't got to the town yet. Yeah, it's probably going to be a longer tour because of the amount of detail leading up to it. This was not always the plan. I ended up deciding that after I had built a good chunk of the town, it felt very odd to walk through this long empty space to get to the town. So I decided over the years, after the town was pretty much finished, to spend a lot of time on the outside of the town, which I think helps. I think it helps the immersion of it. It helps it feel like it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Right, let's continue up the road.
Yeah, so the main stone road will lead directly to the Westhill front gate, and then anything that's off in the sides is going to be like a dirt path, or it's going to be like a little stone cobble path to a house or whatever. There's also some paths that we talked about recently on the spawn chunks. Like you'll see little dirt paths like cutting across, connecting two little spots.
Yes.
Little footpaths.
And as somebody who lives in not like a super rural place in the UK, but at least a place where there are like, grass verges and pedestrian like pathways and stuff, you can tell when people take shortcuts. There are always like,
Yes.
Some of them have even been paved after they might have been used over and over again, but there are almost always like little dirt areas where people's shoes have worn down the grass in some spots because they walk there so frequently. And so that feels like a very real touch to me. I'm definitely drawn to the house with the mangrove roof. I'm pretty sure this is an inn.
Yes, right? This is the Westhill River Inn, I think. Is that what I called it? The sign should be on the outside there.
Yes, it certainly is. And yeah, I can't help but be drawn to it because of how bright the roof is.
Yes.
And how like thematically appropriate all of the roses are with the red color and everything. Like it feels like a very welcoming build.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this was one of the things that, of course, wasn't possible until they came out with mangrove. And yeah. I very much have felt the burnout on brown and gray throughout the years. And so it was fun to like, I know I'm going to make a roof a nice bright color. It didn't really fit in the town. So I thought, well, you know what? Maybe we'll do something outside the town. And I needed something for this space, so it worked out very well. You'll also notice that the beehives for decoration have been commandeered. That's because there's a bee farm next door. The little mud roof house to the north has a beehive in it, and the bee's radius has just expanded, and he can fit through the windows. So he flies in and uses like the check-in desk and some of the cupboards in the kitchen as bees' nests. So it's a little bit funny to have like the dripping honey noise in the inn. It's very funny.
I like the fact that you've got, again, attention to detail. There's a guest book,
yes.
little register on the front desk, and upstairs, I was just taking a look. You've managed to cram so much detail into a couple of basically like there's a 3x2 room here, or
Yeah.
more or less a 3x3, but you've got trapdoors here as dividing walls, so you can't really do a whole lot with the space there because it's occupied by a trapdoor already. But the amount that you've managed to at least make these feel like rooms that a traveler could stay in is great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's tricky, and I do really enjoy. I end up overusing them, I think, but like the spruce trapdoor as a wall, it does really give you that extra space because like here I can put it on the outside, and that means that you've got a full use of the block inside, depending on where you put the one in the hallway. So depending on where you want to sacrifice the block space, if it's out here, then it's not a big deal. It gives you that room inside to put down the bed or put down the table or whatever it is that you need.
Much as I have talked about them being the new vertical slabs, I honestly don't see people doing the same thing with shelves just because of the functionality of shelves being so different. Like, it's too easy to, like, accidentally right-click on a shelf as you're traveling around. Like, you right-click on a trapdoor, it just flips down, you can flip it back. But if you right-click on a shelf, you end up putting on the shelf whatever's in your hand at the time.
Yeah. There's a nice little garden out back, too, with a view of the river, which is a fun little part of the build.
And some more custom armor stand work with like both bread in the window there, and also like the axe in the micro block tree stump. I guess this is armor stand with a regular block in the head slot, right?
Yeah, that's what that is. There's a variation. Also, it looks like I forgot another tables and chairs. Jeez.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I was wondering why this was Zed fighting.
No, that should have been a table and chair like you saw inside. So I knew there would be something that I would forget. There's always something on the list. But yeah, this was the first time I started messing around with like coral in the gardens. And one of the nice things about the core stirred slab, of course, is that you can waterlog it. And so you can waterlog it and then put stuff on top of it, which is really nice. And so it allows the coral to stay colorful, and it actually really works well as a flower plant, which is great.
And I think having done a bit of gardening in real life now, it makes a lot of sense to have the flower beds and stuff look more earthy than grassy, because the grass is going to like choke out some flowers, and I think it makes a lot of sense to delineate where the growing beds and stuff are by having some dirt texture in there as well. So I think it really works that you can hide the waterlogged slab that way. Elsewhere, I think you've used like waterlogged mangrove roots and stuff as a couple of spots for coral to grow. So there's like a lot of little subtle things you can do to make sure that plants like that can survive, and you can use coral as like a plant life.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pop inside and sleep quickly so we can continue on.
Good plan. We can use the beds as we find them.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that I really liked about. As I've been building this, of course, the whole thing has always been built in survival. And in doing that over the years, because I've finished the interior of everything, like whenever I need a bed, I just need to walk into the nearest building, and there's usually one. We can actually...
Once again, admiring the view from here and recognizing how much of it has been bone mealed, hand-shaped. I think that's the graveyard over there on the other side of the river.
Yes.
And there's just like little subtle touches of that everywhere that does make this feel like a very curated landscape.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun to add the detail. The test of the marsh that I did is over there. That drains into the river underneath that stone bridge, and it's a fun area to look at, because it was kind of like a proof of concept for something like 4 times as large, which is in front of the main wall in Westhill. But we can loop around this way too. I try to also like have things that make sense, like river access behind the inn and just stuff like that is a lot of fun. We'll just loop around to the front here.